What's up guys, I'm Kane, and a little over 2 years ago now I purchased this bus and smashed out the build. And now after living in it for over a year, in all different conditions, I wanted to make this video for the guy I was 2 years ago. I want to go through and talk about the things I wish I did differently, the things I would change, what worked, what didn't work. Basically want to make this video for the version of me I was 2 years ago, starting out the project, and try and give you guys some hindsight for anyone else that's in those shoes getting started. The things I wish I knew. All right, let's rip in. Some of the things that I absolutely loved was the pull-up bar that I put in. I did the 2 bars, and so we could hang a hammock or a hammock chair. We'll get a workout in. That's been amazing, and that's actually helped me a lot this year. I've really utilized it. At the start of the year, I was doing pull-ups every single day and completely got rid of my dad bod. So first off, I just got the bus back yesterday from the repairer, GC Smash. They were the best. Young kid hit me on a roundabout. He understeered on the inside lane and he came slammed straight into here. All this was rubbish. And GC Smash repaired it, painted it. They repaired my rims, fixed them up. They painted all this, they replaced this. They painted the whole back for me. They did so much extras. It was amazing. They did an awesome job, all within the time that they said. Absolutely stoked. So I do just want to mention, back at the start, like midway through the build, we went with truck repair group for repairing the rust and putting in the child restraints, like the little anchor points. And they were just the worst to deal with. They were horrible. They fixed the rust up in here. There's pit marks in this window here. Like I can see it, like grind marks or weld marks from their work there. They were horrible. GC Smash were amazing every step of the way. Anyway, enough said about them. So now that the bus is semi-empty and we can see everything, I figured I'd do this video now before I pack for my snow trip next week with the girls. So what would I change? What would I do differently? First off, I never thought I would say this, but the layout, I would actually change the layout, because I loved this layout from the start, and it's only until just recently that I'm thought more about it. So I would have moved the shower back down this end. By putting the shower like next to the bed here, I could have sort of framed this as more of a bedroom and maybe had like a curtain here to like block it off. Could have had like a vertical closet next to it, and what it would have done was it would have moved on this side, on the driver's side, it would have moved the dining area up front, which would have opened up more headroom up here around the seat and everything, and it would have made the sort of the lounging chill out area near the door, where we could have sat with the door open and just had that like a bit more flow, I feel, up this end. So that's what I would have liked about that. The other thing was I made this couch slash single bed a little too short. I could have lended a little more space here by pushing the whole bed back. So see that section there? I could have squished that up a lot more, and pretty much I probably could have given another 100 mil to this bay here, and it just would have been better because I'm pretty much as tall as this space at the moment. And I put sort of like the control stuff here. It's my diesel heater and hot water heater, 12 volt, 24 volt. And that's my water tank indicator, fresh water and grey water. Sometimes the girls do bump them. I wish I put them in a different spot. Like the bus was a bit of a rush job, but at the same time, I did put a lot of care and effort and time into it. I have removed the bunk bed that was in here. Now that I'm living in it in a different capacity, I felt I wanted the space back in this area. This snow trip we're doing is just going to be me and the girls, so we literally have a 2-person bed and a single bed here, if I don't end up sleeping in there with the 2 girls anyway. The other thing I really regret is I stinged out on effort and time with this seat. This was just one of the original seats. It actually used to be back here, and then we just moved it forward. We made a really quick bracket to put in, and we mounted it there. This thing is like fixed at 90 degrees, and it's so uncomfortable. It doesn't move, and it's horrible to sit in. Luckily, I sit in here. I love this little tray that we made. Always spill my coffee in there, but we have room for the drink bottles, and it's just a nice little tray that keeps everything organized somewhat while we're driving. So The sliding door here is excellent. That's worked great. Everything's worked great in my shower. It's so easy to use. I wouldn't change anything with the shower except for the location. We have the little fan there. We have the diesel heater running into the shower. Another thing, absolutely recommend doing that. No matter what sort of adventures you're planning on doing. We obviously did a winter in this, and I love getting down to the snow. So it works really well when we're showering. It also works really well just for hanging gear in here and getting it to dry. We just flick that fan on and we get the hot air circulating out. We close this off, smelly snow gear in there, all good. Now, as for finishes, I got a lot of stuff in this bus given to me or for free through work. So a lot of the plywood that I used was shitty plywood and it was for free. I went and bought better plywood for the faces, but I only used 12 mil because the day I went to Bunnings, they didn't have the bloody marine ply in 15, so I just grabbed the 12 mil and went and got the job done. And what I regret is just how much it's bowed. See this one here? That's the worst one out of all of them. The other thing is this tap. This tap was just a cheapie from online somewhere. Everything's great about the tap except the mounting is horrible and it always comes loose. And I've tried putting Loctite on the thread and getting back under there and fixing it. I always constantly have to fix it. You can sort of see it back there. Another thing I wasn't that interested in are these latches. They're the RV Labs ones. They're very expensive and I thought they were great because they're like single action, but they're just not that great. I prefer these ones. They're the same, they were cheap, they were off eBay, and I reckon they look better, they're flush, they feel better. They work great. So I'll link everything in the description, obviously. What else? Lagoon table works great, but I do want to cut down the table just to reduce it a bit. We really don't need so much. And then one thing that I did was on the actual bracket. I mounted the bracket off center on the table so that when you're setting it up, you could have the option to put it there, or you can spin it right around and it changes position again. Just gives you more options. Another good thing was this hatch. I love having the airflow that it can give me. I love being able to climb up onto the rooftop deck. And another big thing that I sort of messed up in the build, which I made up for on the road, was the lighting. So there was just a lack of lighting in some areas, like over the bed. So I installed this little light while I was on the road. I just ordered it online down to where we were in the snow last year. And then I think I just jumped off the wiring for the fan. Or no, that one I literally just took it down under the bed and grabbed some power from down there. And I also installed this one whilst we were on the road because it just lights up the dining area a lot better. But lighting is essential, and where we missed was in the cab. There was no cab light at all in this one, so my solution has just been this battery light on a magnet, and it floats around at the front and it's very bright. I love having these little whiteboards around, and again, that's just the aluminium composite sheeting that I used in the shower. They're just offcuts that I stuck here and here, and I used this one as a splashback because this wasn't quite enough. Obviously, just cooking spaghetti or bacon or anything, it would just splatter all over the window and the curtain. So I put this in on the road. We put that one in, and it's actually been the best because you can write on it and it just keeps the kitchen area a lot tidier. I do wish that I put this that way so that there was more space around the pots and pans. The reason I put it this way, my thought was, oh, I'll have so much more bench space, but I don't need it because I already have so much more bench space here, even though there's normally a coffee machine here and a water filter, and I also still have the fill-in piece for this, but I barely use it because just this section here alone is enough bench space to do everything you need. Max air fan, an absolute must. The other thing is, this is the 11mm pine shiplap board. I really didn't need to use that. I now know that there is way better products out there. You can get like that plastic composite stuff that looks exactly like this. It's already white and you just clip it all in and you secret screw it. It is way better, way lighter, and it's finished. I had to screw all this in, then I had to patch all the screw holes and then paint the whole thing. And now, since we've been driving, you can start to see the screw holes. Like I did a really good job patching everything. We used builder's bog and all that, but like you can start to see the indents of the screw holes just because of all the movement and the flex. Now this is another area where I used cheap ply that I got from work for free. It's just 12mm non-structural, and if you can see this run here, I did it just a tad too tight up top, and the bus flexes and moves a lot when you drive. So just during the driving, this has pressured this panel, and you can sort of see how it's bowed out a little bit. These are the things that only I notice, but does my head in. Fridge. I absolutely love the teak veneer finish from Tegan, but I hate the fridge. It's a 110 litre King's upright fridge. I had to tape up the holes from this thing dropping off. It just comes with two tiny little plastic nipples that go in there, and you do that and then you close, and it breaks and then drops off and whatever. It didn't take much for this thing to fall off, and every time it fell off, the sharp corner would pierce a hole in the bottom and it would get trashed. My solution was I took it out, I drilled a hole, and I just tapped two tiny little nails into the end so it's a bit longer, and now it doesn't ever fall out. This has become a bit of a sticker dumping area. We had the big map of Australia there, but the heat made it all sort of shrink and shrivel up, so I've just been dumping stickers on there to fill it up. What else? The air conditioning in this thing is so powerful, and because I've taken out the ducts that run down the whole length of the bus, which I'm glad I did, but now we've just got the 4 ducts at the front here. There's one up in there. What I need to do now is drill a hole in here and then like duct it out here straight so that it starts cooling down the back when we're driving, because when the girls get a little cold they want to turn it off. I sort of want to just lighten it a little bit. I don't want it on me too much. And this one, so then this one's a constant and has to be constant, but it's just sort of being wasted in here. So I'm gonna just tap it in and send it out this way, put a vent on there. Because when the aircon's running, you need to have at least one of them constant so the air's getting out. Another thing I love is this little thing. So I can operate this one-handed. It grabs the paper towel really well, and it stays on there, and it doesn't unravel while you're driving. Link in the description. Oh, you gotta have a bin. Recycling, gotta have a bin, gotta have a filter. And I love the big deep sink, wouldn't go without that. And again, all my lights are just touch. They have 3 settings, and they can dim if you hold them. And they remember to, if you leave it dimmed, it'll stay dimmed when you go back to that setting. Now that the bunk bed's down, we'll see how this trip goes, but I might fill in another cupboard there and then more cupboards along the back, and then just leave this space open for like headroom for sitting up. Under here, I'm stoked on this big drawer. Really easy to access, a lot of space. I put like my little panel board here because I felt like I had nowhere else to stick it. But it does sort of get bumped. Sometimes the diesel heater will get bumped on, and sometimes the girls will bump the hot water heater on. So to avoid that, I just take the fuse out if we're in a situation, like if it's summertime, and I just take the fuse out. In the winter time, we just got to keep an eye on it if we don't want it on, which is annoying. Probably could have made a better space for that. The vinyl floor, I bought cheap vinyl from Bunnings, thinking it's only going to be a small section that you actually see. But the thing is that this shit just doesn't like the heat, and it shrinks. So see this little piece here, you can see how much it shrunk. I knocked that with the door here, hit that. This is the little bit that pops up. But the vinyl doesn't like the heat. You can see here where the kitchen, it started to like fold up. That's just all from the heat. Yeah, and it just hasn't sat really well. And this is all contacted down too, like really solid. We have our external lighting here and my pump isolation switch, which is a must. You want to be able to isolate the pump, and all my exterior lighting laid out really well. Literally goes from right to left. Right is right here, and then it works all the way around the bus. What else would I change? I think the curtains are good because they're all block out, but probably could have put a bit more effort into the curtains. Maybe had like the block outs with like maybe some like light ones over the top. Would have been a bit nicer. Up onto the roof. My favorite spot on the bus. So we had boxes up here. I just took them off while we're up here on the Goldie. Didn't really need them. Didn't really have anything in them. So I just took them off because it restricts my height, and it's like a big wind drag up the top here. But yeah, I have the brackets for me mountain bikes. And when I planned this, I went to my cousin's place for about a week or so, and we smashed out this roof rack together because he's a boilie and he can weld and he's got all the skills. I just had the ideas and he put it all together with me.
Put a dab about there where that wire is.
Closer. How did the weld crack like that? It just wasn't drying. What's the difference though with that and this?
Didn't you say one crack?
I think I even said you better fix it up. A bit closer to that, babe. Oh yeah! Oh! Oh, look at the flex. I'm just hitting last snap. Yeah. But we didn't quite have enough time or material to fill in this little space, and I just was over it. I was like, let's just get it done. So I would have definitely filled in this space around it if I had planned it better, but yeah, I wasn't too worried. The other thing is the solar I got for free. My dad upgraded his caravan and he goes, you can just have these ones, they're oldies. So they're only 160 and 160, so 320 watt in total. Definitely would have done more. We could literally put like a 300 and a 300, but I did run the wiring for the solar really good. So there's two really thick cables coming up. I could probably run 800 watts off one cable and 800 watts off another cable. I built it to be upgraded, which is definitely how you should do everything, because you're not going to run that cable again. So you don't want to restrict yourself. So I just upgraded the cable knowing that in the future we have the capacity to go bigger. I just used pine decking to save weight. I love that I spaced it out. It's still easy to walk on, but I can always strap around the spacings. I can get my little straps in there and strap anything down up here that I want to or need to. So as I said, we were on a bit of a time pressure situation when we were building, but I wish I focused on the outside way more from the start and painted it and tinted the windows and did all this stuff before building the inside out. But you live and learn, so definitely something you should do is get all your paint done, get your cutouts done, paint your rig, tint the windows, then start building the inside. Oh, another thing definitely would have done, because weight is everything, and even though I've got 5 ton on this bus, don't give up. If you get a coaster, don't give up your weight. Don't drop your GVM to keep it on your car license. Just go get the LT license. It cost me 90 bucks and about an hour of my time, and now I can legally drive my bus. And I kept 500 kilos of payload, because if you downgrade your GVM on these things to make it legal to drive on a car license, you're going to lose 500 kilos to get it down to a 4.5 ton GVM to make it legal to drive on your regular car license. It's not worth it. 500 kilos is a lot of weight. So what I would have done was blocked out way more windows and just put panels in there. This window here, I've blocked out on the inside, I've insulated it, and I put a black cover on the inside. I could have removed this window and just put a really light panel there, and then insulated it and plied it inside. And that would have gotten the glass and everything out of the bus, and I would have saved heaps of kilos. These windows here are doubles. They're like the two pieces. Could have literally deleted 1, 2, and 3 squares there, but I could have removed almost 100 kilos and maybe only put back less than 10, putting a little panel in there. So food for thought if you're starting out. At the back here, I struggled for a long time trying to figure out where I was going to put my diesel heater fuel tank, and then someone suggested just get a jerry can. Well, I was blinded by the fact that I was trying to think of where I could put the fuel tank that it comes with, which is that tall, skinny, clear 10-litre thing, and it just gave me like nowhere to think of where I could mount it. So someone suggested to me just using a jerry can, so I went and got a 5-litre jerry can. Wish I got a 10, and I shoved it in the gas box right here. I just got the lid and I tapped into it, bit of sticker, and then ran the tube back in and like sickered it all up too. So this box is still sealed, and yeah, so 5 litres just a bit too small. Would have rather a tenner. Okay, back here we just got random shit in here for the filling up the space. We got Kaya's e-bike ready for the snow troop. I had to see if it would fit under, and it does perfectly. Now here is my power setup. We have 3 chargers: solar charger, AC charger for when you're plugging into main power, and the DC-DC charger for when the bus is running, so it's charging off the engine, the alternator. Then we have the fuse block where everything comes to. We have an isolator switch for the solar, and we have a main switch which kills everything, and the battery, and then over there we have the inverter. Now the inverter was a cheapie that I had on my old Hilux. I just carried it over. The 3 chargers are brand new, I bought for the build, and the battery was another hand-me-down from my dad. It's a really good battery, but it's only a 200 amp hour lithium Enerdrive, which I absolutely wish I had a lot more. If I could have, I probably would have put 2 of these side by side and ran a 24 volt system. Or if I really had the money, I would have gone 2 300s and then ran a 24 volt system with a shitload more solar on the roof. But you live and learn, and I would say that this here is just enough for what we're doing. We can definitely live off it. I just have to monitor my power usage when I'm parked up and make sure that I pull my solar blanket in and plug in, which brings me to my next hot tip. Here's my battery setup. We went straight down underneath and ran this Anderson plug, so I can plug my solar blanket in really easily. I could plug my compressor in. I just have access to my battery from the outside very easily. So like I can just plug straight in here and I can charge, or I can use the power. I don't have to open the door and get to it. It made life so easy. I would literally park my bus facing the sun in the afternoon, and I would hang my blanket on those brackets. I would hang the solar blanket up there and then just plug it in. How easy is that? It's not a hassle to add an extra panel. Sometimes I would even drive with it there. I'd just make sure the cord wasn't dangling, and I'd move the bus. What else? Some rags. I keep everything handy. I always have my cable ties here. Have a little alligator clip to Anderson plug. Everything's ready. Extra fuses and silage pipe for my grey water if I need to divert the water to drain it. And we've got the ramps in the back there. Everything is always accessible and thought out. But yeah, the biggest thing I hate about these buses is the access. This tiny little door is literally all I've got. So when I was looking, I was trying to find one with a disabled door. They often come here, or sometimes there's like a barn door at the back. I really just wanted the width. I wanted that access. I would have put my mountain bikes under the bed then. But this bus was a good deal, came at the right time. So I just compromised on the doors and bought it. And I don't regret it. Absolutely love the bus. It's been a pleasure. I threw some car vinyl over this panel just to dress it up a bit. Underneath, let's have a look underneath, eh? The water tanks. So, pretty stoked on how these water tanks came out, to be honest. Okay, so there's my sensor. Tell me how much is in the tank. When I was at my cousin's house doing the rooftop frame, we did we mounted these as well. So this is a 16mm Booker rod welded at the top into an identical frame. So this is a 3mm steel 50x50, and we just made like a picture frame at the bottom, and then at the top something similar, but then we made it to fit to screw into the bus frame. So it's very sturdy, and then obviously with the bolts, and then I just put like a aluminium panel underneath here to protect it as well. I have literally had this bus bogged so deep that it was sitting on the water tanks and the spare wheel here. Like everything was down into the wet grass and nothing went wrong. So over here we got the main sort of mess. This one here is straight off the bottom of the tank, and it runs just over here to an external tap. It's just gravity fed, but this is a way that I can get water externally, and I can drain the tanks if I have to. This just links the two tanks together, and this one here is if I want to ever run, like, basically I can just put a hose straight to there, and then it will charge the line with like water pressure, like will charge the line, and it will divert past the pump. I actually haven't used this yet. I built it, I tested it, and then I never used it. I just fill the tanks up and then use the bus with the pump. But this is more for if you were parked up and you wanted to plug your hose in. And then we got the hot water, feeding back to the hot water line, and just a mess. But we've had no water leaks and no dramas, so pretty stoked on that. Here is my external tap. I also think it looks pretty good just from the side here, that little frame. That's like all you see. And from the back, it just looks tidy. I see a lot of them hanging down fairly low on other people's buses. And to me, it's very vulnerable because you're at the rear and you're very far back past the axle. I have gotten the back lifted. That's why it's sort of sitting on a rake. I got it lifted by 2 inches at the rear while I was away. Should have just went back to standard with heavy duty springs, but I said 2 inches thinking it needed to come up to. Went up a bit higher than I expected. But we're going to get the front wound up a bit more this week and see if it sort of starts to balance it out. But like I said, I scrape the tow bar a lot. I used to, not anymore. And I had a dirt bike on the back here while we were traveling last year, and it would drag and scrape everywhere. Even just getting into a service station driveway, I had to be strategic at every point that I went. Until I lifted the rear, my dirt bike never scrubbed anywhere. And I was able to go to Tasmania and get on and off the barge with like really hectic angles. But I can't stress enough how important solid water tanks are and making sure that they're protected. I got the water tanks from RV Tanks Australia. They were again another great company to deal with. They have every tank for every model that you can think of. Very simple and easy. Put your orders in and they'll sort it and then get it delivered to you. All you got to do is contact them and they can help you with anything. brackets, the roof brackets. I purchased these gutter brackets from Roof Rack World, Adelaide. And I think they were about a 120 a pair. But then, like I said, I built the frame on top. Again, if I was to do it with more time, I wanted to actually lower the front one to get those solar panels on more of a angle, just for a bit more aesthetics and like maybe aerodynamics while you're driving. It would have worked better. Probably would have worked better with the sun if we could have angled those panels. I could have faced the sun to get a little more. Everything counts. Another thing, these little window washers are really vulnerable and weak. I was washing the bus once and I just knocked that one straight off. So don't do that. Also, these tires are like a year old and they're already starting to get a bit of a camber on them. Got to pay attention to these things. Mirrors, I absolutely hate these mirrors because they're like very zoomed in. I pretty much just I look at this one, and I just bought this cheap little dome from Super Cheap Auto for 10 bucks and it sat in there, and this thing has saved my life. I can actually see what's going on. See how uncomfortable that seat looks? It's just like 90 degrees upright. These exterior lights were great. They are so bright, they're waterproof, and they work really well. Porta potty does the job, makes it really easy. I literally just pull that out and I chuck it in this space here, and then we now shower, and we chuck the mat out here as well, and the shower's ready to go. And then when we're finished, I pat dry the whole area with my towel and I just put it straight back. Works great. Under the bed. Now, I second guessed myself and I bought these 60 kilo struts. I thought that they were too powerful. Someone had made me think this. And I was like, once I put them in, I'm not going to be able to change them. So I went and got them downgraded to 40 kilos each. And I just wish I left them at 60. Because now it only stays up if the bed is perfectly made with no extra weight on it. The moment there's like extra pillows or a bag or something on the bed, it doesn't really stay up. Other than that, everything else in here is working great. I have my pump and my plumbing is under here, and this has just got like literally 2 screws holding this cover in. So if I ever had to get to it, I could easily get to it. But in the meantime, I can pack this space without worrying about it bumping the pump. That's why I put the cover on it. What else? Even down here, I just put little things like, there's a little timber stopper there to make sure that this doesn't knock anything. I keep my spare gas bottle down there. I wanted to make the gas box big enough for the 2 gas bottles to sit in there, but this guy's in the way. And I also wanted to make sure that I could get to that tail light. I didn't want to intrude into that corner and not be able to get back to that tail light if I ever had to replace it. So this works. I only have to get to that gas bottle once every 3 to 4 months to change it. So it's a bit of a struggle. It's not very often that I have to get to it. The other thing to watch out for during the winter time, we have the diesel heater going like every night, obviously, in most mornings, and it created a lot of humidity throughout the bus, and before you know it, there was mold starting to show up in so many little places that you just didn't expect. So you always got to monitor that. You always got to like go through and clean thoroughly. So I remember it was like 2-3 weeks into the snow season, and the bottom of that rear door was like so moldy. So we just went to the shops and got one of those damp free things that suck up the moisture, threw that down there, threw a couple else throughout the bus, and then just monitored it like way more. That's pretty much my bus and all the things I would change and do differently. Like I said, now I wish I put the shower up this end just to frame the end a bit better, and then I would have had a more open space up here. This fridge area is sweet, but I definitely should have had a bigger fridge. Our issue was that everything changed for us. We started the build on a very tight budget. I pretty much sold my Hilux and was trying to complete this whole thing, purchasing the bus and building it all out just with the budget from selling the Hilux, which was like 29 grand, and then I bought the bus for like 23. So I really didn't have much there for the build, and that's why I used my battery, my solar, everything from the Hilux. I just pulled it out and put it in. Then halfway through this build, we decided to sell one of our investment properties instead of hold it. So once all that went down, by the time we moved into the bus, we had some budget in the bank again. So we were able to sort of spend a little more money on fixing it up, you know, new tires and just little things like that. But as far as the design, the plan and everything for the build, it was already done. It was done off of a cheaper budget, and that's cool. I'm stoked. We've done a mad job on this. I can't wait to build another one. I really want to have a go at a Sprinter van next, and I want to build it to suit me now, today, 2 years on. I'm gonna get those bikes under the bed on a nice pull-out tray, and I'm going to get really creative with the rest of the space and making it flow, making it functionable, making every space multifunctionable. That's what I love. I love thinking about all these little things and just how they can be used and improved. And now that I live in the space, the next bus I build to live in again, it's going to be 10 times better. Oh yeah, and these little metal decor bits, I love them. Dude, everyone knocks Temu, but some things are cool. Like this was like $9 off Temu. It's metal, it looks sick. This one's a sticker. This is another little metal one. Look at this one. This was like $6. Coffee, that's my little coffee station. Keep all my coffee up there. That's my breaker box for the 240 stuff. And then my coffee machine here, plugged in there. Like, it's great, works good. Oh, this one was my charging cabinet too. I put a little charging port up in there, and it worked great. I always had my batteries and just random shit up there charging. And that's about it anyway, so next we got a snow trip coming. So that's it for my little bus tour and what I would change and what I would do differently. So to be completely honest, if I was doing it again, I would put a lot of budget into the power, into your battery setup, purely because it can change your whole living situation so much better. I tried to diversify to make sure that I was always okay. So we have gas that runs the hot water heater and the gas cooktop, and then I was thinking of getting a 3-way fridge as well, just because if one thing was to not work on the road, it picks up in another way, like you're safe. It's sort of foolproof, right? But honestly, I would just go so hard in the battery department, get it really robust, really strong, really good, and just run off that. Like, why not? And honestly, I'd have an induction cooktop, maybe just carry like a little cooktop burner for outdoor cooking, and in case you're ever out of battery or if something was to happen and it was to break, you can still cook, and that would be enough. I wish we put an aircon in, and I would have made the battery system to run the aircon off-grid, 100%. But you live and you learn, and here we are. This bus was built on a tight budget. I think it owes me, with the 23k purchase and the money I've spent on it, I'd probably put it around 50k, which is not too bad with all things considered. Anyway, that's a wrap for this video. I hope it's helped you in some way with your project. Any questions, hit me up. I'm an open book. I always respond. Please like and subscribe. I appreciate it so much. I really want to grow on here, and I really want to make more videos. Next week we're going to the snow with the 2 girls, and we're going to have a blast. Single dad taking the girls down to the snow in the bus. Stay tuned for that. I'm going to make a video of that one, and see you in the next video. Peace.